This week's edition of Church Media Design TV is sponsored by Print Management Solutions and their eConcierge software. Welcome to another edition of Church Media Design TV, tips, tricks, and how-to for you, the church media designer. Well, I'm your host, Brad Zimmerman, and I am joined by my favorite bobbleheaded friends. You got it right. We got Jamie and Adam from the Mythbusters. We got Dwight Schrute. We got Little Whitey. And, of course, we got Jesus Christ, the Son of the Lord Most High. Well, first off, I want to say thank you to Igniter for my awesome new t-shirt. And this t-shirt was made in commemoration, I guess is a word you could use, of their brand new logo. And not only did they make some sweet new t-shirts, but they also made this video.
They don't even know that Sunday's coming.
It's the march of the unqualified.
Finally turned, and we have reached a state of enlightenment.
Yeah! That's my king! That's my king! Amen.
Well, as you can see, it's a new logo, but it's the same company with all of the same awesome content. And these guys continue to make awesome stuff. And one of their newest things they just came out with was Igniter Backs 8. And so I encourage you to go check out Igniter Backs on their website. I think you get like 30 movies and 100 stills to use as backgrounds for worship. So this definitely is a great way to kickstart all your visual worship and give you a nice solid foundation of background. So thanks again, Igniter, for the t-shirt because, well, it's awesome. So anyway, but this week's episode, we're in the new studio. So if you hear different things acoustically or lighting looks a little bit different, it's because we're getting all of the new stuff ready in the new studio. At the end of the show, I'm going to give you a little walkthrough of the studio in the basement. It's nothing compared to Leo Laporte's new $1.2 million Twit brick house, which is insane. We're just lowly here. It was like a $1.2 thousand CMD studio here. So, but anyway, so if you want to see, the new green screen and all that kind of stuff, you can check that out at the end of the show. I'll do a little iPhone walkthrough for you for that. But on this week's episode, I'm actually going to be going through some stuff I did at the Echo conference about the graph editor and how to do easing inside After Effects and how to make smooth animations look even more buttery smooth and how to kind of finalize and bring some good final professional touches to your animation and give you guys a little clue into a world that may seem scary but is super easy, as well as we have a ton of great resources in the stockpile, some awesome inspiration for you, some free stuff, and a whole lot more. So if my favorite bobbleheaded friends are ready, let's get into it. Well, let's reach into the stockpile and grab some great resources for you and your church. And the first one is for people who want to take their print publications and put them online. So if you want to take, let's say, a directory, or if you do a mini magazine, or even your weekly handouts and brochures and all that kind of stuff, this is the site for you, and it's called Issue. Now, Issue is, as you can see, published by Millions, and this is a way to take all of your magazines and all that kind of stuff and put them online. They even have a neat little bookshelf on here, but you can view it on mobile, and they have a whole platform that you can use, as well as they have a pro version that you can check out that's as cheap as $19 a month. And this is basically a white label way, but you're allowed to make a little widget that you can embed in your website that has all of your documents so people can easily and quickly go and flip through the pages, and that's that nice digital magazine viewer look. And we've used this for our church, and we used the free one. It worked great, and the ads weren't, it's more of advertising for this website than it is for anybody else. So it's a great site that's definitely worth checking out. Now, the next one is for people who are looking for stock imagery or stock anything. This site's called Pond5, and as you can see, they have a lot of video clips and photos, but they also have music tracks, sound effects, and even After Effects project files. So if we go to maybe the music page, we can pull up. Let's see. Let's pull up a action adventure track, and let's take. So there's, a little sample of one of the tracks, but then they also have, we can view all the different After Effects project files, and so they have, cool little projects like that. So little movie frame action going on there. So some different stuff. The prices aren't too terrible. It's not as expensive as iStock Photo, but it's not the cheapest site that you're going to find. But definitely, if you're looking for a site to find some of this stuff, check out Pond 5. Now the next one is for teams who want to start working together, and you really want to get the team all on the same page, and you want a project management system. So Basecamp is one of the biggest ones out there. Well, this site is actually totally free, and it's a free project management software that you install on your own server, and it's called Collaborative. And you can see, we can check out the demo if we want to, and we'll just power on, and we can check out the inside here. So we have different projects that are going on here. We have the calendar. We have we can see a listing of all the different projects. We can click on a project. We can see the time tracker, the activity of who's done what on that project. We can see files attached to it. And again, all of this is hosted on your own server. So if you're looking for an alternative to Basecamp that's actually free, Collaborative is definitely something worth looking into. It's a great site. And last but not least, I got a question the other day about if I use a render farm. If you're producing big time motion graphics work, if you're doing crazy 3D animations and you need to render it on multiple computers, so you use a render farm instead of one machine rendering it. You send out all individual frames to all of these different computers, and so 8 computers doing 1 frame at a time is a lot faster than 1 computer doing 8 frames. So, you get the picture. So, this was a site that Timmy Allen actually pointed out one time, and it's called Render Rocket. And you can do all sorts of stuff. So it's compatible with Maya, all these different programs here. So Cinema 4D, 3D Max. I don't know if it's, doesn't look like it's compatible with Blender, but it's as low as 70 cents per core hour. So you're actually renting cores on a computer. You can check out the pricing here, and it's basically a credit-based system. So there's a decent amount of upfront cost that you're getting, but it explains exactly what you're getting and what you're paying for. So if you're coming up to a big project for Christmas or for Easter or something like that, and you need a ton of computers to do a big project for you really fast, you should definitely check out Render Rocket. Now, I've noticed that in this segment, I've said definitely a million times over, so I promise that the next episode, I'm definitely going to find a new adjective for definitely. So anyway, grab all those resources and add them to your stockpile. Well, before we move on, let's say thank you to our sponsor of Print Management Solutions and their eConcierge software powered by Xerox. Now with eConcierge, you can monitor all the printers on your network, not just Xerox printers, and you can see when the supplies are low, as well as you can see the part numbers and order supplies from right inside the software. This makes it so you don't have to go to a big box store and hope you have the right part number and hope they have the right thing in stock. eConcierge has you covered. Also, if you're a Xerox printer owner, if you start using this software, you're going to get a free warranty for your Xerox printer. So if you want more information and sign up, make sure to head over to CMD.tv/freeprint to sign up today, as well as head over to Print Management Solutions. Check out all the other solutions they have for your print needs, and you can find out more about the Print Management Solutions eConcierge software on their website. So go check out all of that today. Well, this week we're going to be talking about the graph editor inside After Effects, which I know doesn't sound like the sexiest thing in the world, but it turns your animations super smooth and makes them buttery and more professional and more finished feeling, which is what we all want. We want our animations to feel more professional, more real, and more interesting to watch. Now, I talked about this at the Echo conference, and I thought this would be really relevant to a lot of you who are working in After Effects and have maybe seen the button but scared of what it does or don't really understand what it does. So we're going to dive in, and I'm going to show you what exactly it does and how to control it and make sure you know exactly what you're doing, because it's a super easy tool to use and it really helps your animations look a lot better. So let's dive inside After Effects, and I have a normal comp here, and this is the button here for the graph editor. So you can see there we have the graph editor, and it turns our timeline into this, checkerboard thing. So what we need to do first is we need to do a little animation. Now, I know many of us have looked online and we've seen these super cool animations where stuff's moving around the screen and it looks really nice, and there's kinetic typography videos where the text is flying all over the place and everything feels really buttery smooth, and then you try to mess around with the same idea and you're like, things just don't look the same. How did they get it to do that or feel that way? Or it just feels like there's weight to it. It's a dance of motion. Well, that's what we're going to try and make happen today. So what we're going to do first is we're going to create a new shape layer. So we're going to create a new shape layer, and then I'm going to flip down the properties. This is I like making shape layers this way. So we're going to do a new rectangle, and then we're going to add a fill. So we've made a rectangle with a fill, and we can take our rectangle size and maybe make it like 200 by 200. Cool. So we have our little red rectangle here. If we want to change our fill color, we can just plop down the property box and maybe do white. Or we could do like a pale blue color or something. Let's go with blue. Blue is always cool. Okay, so we have our shape layer. So now let's just do some standard animation to it. So I'm going to just do, I'm going to hit S on the keyboard to pull up my scale properties. I'm going to go to the beginning of my timeline, and then I'm going to hit Shift and page down, or you can do Control Shift and right, and it's going to move me 10 frames in my timeline. So I'm actually going to do 20 frames. And I'm going to plop down a keyframe. I'm going to go back to the first one, and I'm going to go to, like, let's say 10%. So we have 10% of our size. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little rotation. So I'm going to hit Shift R, which will pull up my rotation property, but also leave my scale value where it is. And this is super simple animation techniques. I'm going to go down to my endpoint, throw down a rotation keyframe. I'm going to go back to the beginning, and I'm going to do like negative, like 255. So it'll be like kind of cockeyed, and if we watch our animation, it's going to spin as it comes out. Cool. And then let's add in some little position movement. And so let's hit again Shift P, and that pulls up our position properties. And I'm going to again go down 20 frames. And I'm just going to move this guy over, and let's scale him down to maybe 60% and maybe rotate him, maybe 270 degrees is like 2/3 of a rotation, but we'll still land on a hard edge. And so now if we preview, I'm just hitting 0 on the number pad, there's our animation. And as you can tell, it doesn't look that great. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on motion blur and motion blur check for our timeline. So now we at least have some motion blur that's giving it a little bit more of a realistic feel. But this is when we're going to start playing with the graph editor. Now, many times you'll hear people say, you need to have easy ease keyframes. So let's talk about what easy ease is versus linear keyframes. Now, linear means that everything takes the same amount of time to move. So the time that it takes from here to get here, every single second or increment along the way is the exact same increment. And in real life, nothing moves linearly. The only thing I really can think of that moves linearly is hands on a clock, because they're synced up to time, and they're moving a specific distance around that clock head over time. So that's linear motion, but most things in real life move in a non-linear fashion. And so you got to think about, like, if I'm going to throw my fist into the air, my hand's going to start slow and it's going to end fast, and it's abruptly going to stop. Or let's say we're going to clap and our hands are going to start slow and end fast and stop at that stop point. Even when waving or a car driving by, you don't see a car that goes the same pace across in front of you. It kind of comes into your frame of reference, moves fast, and then slowly fades off into the distance. And when we do animation, we want our animation to be the same way. We want it to be animation that feels realistic, because that's going to be what is going to sell your animation. So let's have this box spin out really big and then slide over to the other side of the screen, because that's kind of what we would expect if we were watching it. So let's start out by doing easing. So I'm going to start with our scale, and I'm going to forget about our rotation properties for right now. And I'm just going to do, I'm going to actually select all of my keyframes. I'm going to right click, and you're going to see Keyframe Assistant, and we have Easy Ease, Ease In, Ease Out. So by default, you have linear keyframes, which take all the same increments. Easy Ease In means that it's going to slowly come into each keyframe. Easy Ease Out means it's going to slowly leave each keyframe, and Easy Ease means it's going to slowly leave and slowly come in. So that's what we want it to do. We want it to start kind of slow, end slow, and then start slow from its next move and end slow to its final resting place. So we're going to do Easy Ease. And I'm actually going to do Easy Ease for all of these. So I'm going to right click, Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease. So now if we watch this same animation, you can see it takes its time a little bit. So let's preview that again. Okay, so it takes its time a little bit. So let's select the scale property, and let's jump into the graph editor. So I'm going to select my property and go to the graph editor, and all of a sudden you see a graph here. Now if we right click, we get a few different options for the graph editor. We have, auto zoom, height fit, show selected properties. We could do show animated properties, and it will show all of our animated properties. I'm going to turn that off. We can do, we have show graph editor set. But then we have which graph we want to edit. Do we want to auto select graph type, or do we want to edit the value graph, or do we want to the speed graph? Now the value graph is this is more of a spatial movement graph. This is actually where it is in physical space. With something like scale or rotation, the value graph is a little bit different, but with position, it's actually its physical position and the graph of that. Where the speed graph is how long it takes to do something. And that's what we want to mess around with mostly. So I'm going to do edit speed graph. We also have show reference graph, and this is a reference point of what our final graph looks like. We're going to shut that off so we don't get confused. So that's the only things I have selected there, and I have snap and show graph tooltips, which is all of this stuff, as well as my tooltips that I have here. So if I click on here, you're going to see a familiar friend, Bezier handles. It's just like the pen tool. And so what we have, what we can do actually, so we can see this is what Easy Ease looks like. Let's look at it when it's not Easy Ease. So I'm going to go back to my scale properties. I'm going to do Keyframe Assistant, or we can do Keyframe Interpolation, and I'm going to set it back to linear. So, oops. Keyframe interpolation, linear, and hit OK. So it sends it back to our original keyframe type, and you can see here we have these straight linear lines. And what this graph is, I'm going to pull this up a little bigger so we can see here. What we're seeing here is we're seeing the amount over time. So this is how fast something is moving. So it's moving at 135 pixels per second over time, and then it stops here and abruptly goes down to -60 pixels per second over that amount of time. And if we go back again, we're going to right click on all these guys, do Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease, go back to our graph editor. Now you can see we're slowly, so now we're at 40% over time because we're at scale, so it's percentage, not pixels. And then we're all the way up at 200% at this point, and then down and so on. And what we have here is we have a handle, and this handle can't move up. It can move up the scale, but it can't angle like you're used to in Illustrator, or even in when you're using the pen tool. But you see we have an influence amount, and our starting influence I think is around 20 or something like that. But if I bring my influence, let's say up to like 70 something, and let's bring this one up to 70. Let's do like 73, and we can do the same here. You can see our graph is starting to change its shape, and it's going to start slower and end slower, but it's going to really pick up its pace in the center. So now if we watch this animation, you can see how the scale kind of shoots out there. Let's bring in our work area bracket here. So let's hit N, so we can see how it kind of pops out and ends slow, and then it does that next little bit of movement. And let's make this one even smaller. So let's go down to like 40%, just so we can see that even more pronounced. Okay, so we're starting to see a little bit nicer animation. So now let's go back and mess around with our rotation property. So we want the rotation to do the exact same thing. So we're going to click on rotation, and we'll see our rotation graph. So again, I'm going to pull my influence over so that it's influencing how much, how long it's waiting to leave and how long it's waiting to come in. And we're just going to influence these both up into the 70s. And now when we watch this, 70 and 70 something. Now when we watch this, see how the rotation kind of matches. We have a little something funny at the end here, so we'll maybe drop that down a little bit. Whoop, and kind of locks into place. So our animation is starting to look a lot better. And finally, let's mess with our position property. I didn't really need to leave the graph editor, but I did. So we'll just influence this guy up to 70 something, 73. We'll do like 73. And now let's watch. So we get this nice kind of liquid cool movement, and we have, you know, it kind of sits and stops for a second, and then it keeps moving on. And this looks a lot better. So let's duplicate this. So I'm just gonna do Command D or Control D on my keyboard. I'm gonna pull up my position property, go back to my timeline. I'm just gonna take this. If I select, actually if I hit U, oh, I don't need to do that. Position, if I select all of my position keyframes, and if I'm on one keyframe, it'll allow me to move the entire animation. So I'm just gonna move my entire animation over to the right a little bit, and move this entire animation over to the left a little bit. And so now let's watch this. Okay, so there's our animation. So now let's compare them side by side. So we're gonna take this left one, and hit U on my keyboard, and we'll just watch and see. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna set these all to linear keyframes. So we're gonna go to keyframe interpolation. I'm gonna set them all to linear. And so now let's watch side by side. Look at the difference in how much smoother the right one looks than the left one. So what that is we're actually messing around with the curvature of the, this is exponential curves and mathematic formulations and all sorts of stuff that I don't really understand. Now, one person who does understand this is Robert Penner. And on his website, he has these, a animation, it's kind of it shows all of these different animations. So what we can do is we can go down to the bottom here, and we're going to do ease in sine. And this is your normal ease in. Okay, so it slowly leaves, and then let's check out our ease out. And this is what the curve looks like. This is what our original curve looked like when we said easy ease, and this is what that curve looked like. But we did something more along the lines of maybe quint. So we'll do ease in and out quint, and you'll see how we have that same kind of snappy. It takes a second to start and to end, but it looks a lot smoother. So this is what our curves look like. So let's say we want to do a exponential ease in and ease out, and you can see how it basically flat lines a little bit there. So let's see how to make this look inside After Effects. So if I pull up my graph editor here, I'm gonna pull up these keyframes and we'll hit our graph editor, and let's just grab our position keyframe for right now, and I'm going to say show reference graph. And when I show my reference graph, you'll see here this red reference graph of my position shows up, and it kind of looks like what we see on Robert's site, but if I influence this all the way up to 100%, you can see how it looks a lot more. And we can even zoom in a little bit more here so we can see this more clearly. You can see how it flat lines in the middle, and maybe we do just under. And if we go back to Robert's website, you can see there's our same ease in out movement. And so now let's go back here and we'll preview our motion. And you'll see when it moves here at the end, whoosh, it moves super fast in the center. It almost like skips across the screen. And so that's where our buttery smooth animation is coming from, is from these easing graphs. So if you want to know, well, I only want to do a little bit, you're just the difference between linear and exponential, these are the two ends of the paradigm, is just the amount of influence. So influence all the way up at 100% is an exponential curve. Influence all the way down to nothing is a linear curve. And everything in the middle is varying degrees of influence. Now I'm going to show you an easier way to do this that's even faster, and it's a little less tactile. We're going to switch over, and I'm going to show you our good friends over at AE Scripts, and they created Ease and Whiz. And basically what Ease and Whiz is, they took all of those formulations that Robert Penner did, and Robert's stuff was originally intended for Flash, and they ported it all over to After Effects so that you could use these all inside After Effects. So if we hop back inside After Effects, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to compare these for you. So what I've done is I've made a little quick animation here, and it's just these two boxes moving across the screen here. So we can preview this, and you can see that they're exactly the same. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our Ease and Whiz one, and I'm just going to select my position property, and I'm going to go to the Ease and Whiz panel. And now we can select from exponential, circle, quadratic, sine, any of these. I'm going to say exponential, and I'm going to do ease in, out. And I'm going to hit apply. And what's happening here is a expression is being applied, and there's a whole ton of stuff in here that is that expression. And now when we watch it, you can see how it's like this super snappy, crazy time. But just so you can see how you can still do this without Ease and Whiz, I'm going to go to the graph editor, grab my position for this guy, and again, I'm going to pull this all the way down, set my influence up to 100, pull this all the way down, set its influence all the way up to 100, and let's just see how these compare now. So they're very close. My graph editor one is just a little bit different, but they're very, very similar. And if we wanted to, draw this out just a little bit longer so you can see the animation a little bit better, you see the Ease and Whiz one has like a little bit of almost a hiccup to it, and that's because it's being done via math versus the curves, and so it's just a little bit differently. Now, on the Ease and Whiz website, you actually have to pay for this, but it is a name your own price. So it's definitely an investment that you may want to make. I think the suggested price is like $10. It's not very expensive, but hopefully this shows you how you can take simple keyframes and make them a whole lot more beautiful and sexy. And yeah, you can say sexy when you talk about animation that looks that smooth, because, well, it looks really nice. So that's how to use the curve editor and graph editor. Hopefully that demystifies it for you. So put that into Practice in your animations. Well, Well, this week's inspiration actually already has been featured as a morning motion over on the website. So if you're looking for inspiration, I encourage you to check out every day of the week, or 5 days of the week, we have morning motion for you, which is motion inspiration. And so there's tons of different inspiration on the website. This one was actually featured on there, and it's Amnesty International and 50 years of social justice. And it's a really, really cool video. And the best part is there's a behind the scenes. So I'm going to show you the final product, but make sure to head over to the website and check out all the other inspiration, as well as get a behind the scenes on how this was made. So be inspired by Amnesty International. Well, this week's freebie actually is a series graphic you can use. It's for a series we did called Leap, and so this graphic is for you online. It's going to be just in widescreen, but there'll be a editable PSD file that you can use to alter it to your heart's content. So this is a series graphic you can grab. So head over to the website. You can go to CMD.tv/Leap Series, and you can grab the graphic there. So go download it today. Well, thanks for tuning in to another edition of Church Media Design TV. Hopefully you guys learned a little something new about After Effects. Again, if you want to see a behind the scenes of the studio, make sure to stay tuned. After the credits, you'll see kind of a walkthrough of the new studio / my house's new basement. And it's kind of cool. So if you guys want to check that out, you can. As well as if you guys have any questions or comments, make sure to leave those in the show notes at cmd.tv/133. You can leave the show note, your comments and questions in the show notes there, as well as if you guys want to find me online, you can find me at facebook.com/CMDTV, twitter.com/CMDTV, and gplus.to/CMDTV for my Google Plus profile if you want to connect with me on Google Plus. So you can find me there, as well as if you want to email me, you can always email me, brad@ChurchMediaDesign.tv. So those are all the different places you can stay in touch with me, as well as head over to the website. There's tons of new stuff on the website all the time, so I encourage you guys to go check all of that stuff out. So as for me and my favorite bobbleheaded friends, we're saying, see you later. So, as I said at the beginning of the show, I'm going to give you guys a little tour. So let's head down into the basement. Sorry about the crazy, I don't know why the video looks weird like that for a second. But anyway, so this is the basement. And so as you can see here, we got our my desk set up. One thing that you may not have known is that we raise up the desk on little bed lifts so that it's high enough for me, because I'm 6'3", and so it's hard to get under. So, and then I have the MacBook Pro hooked up right now, but I also have a PC desktop that I can use. And then here's my work lamps that I use to light up the green screen. And the green screen is here, as you can see. And what we've done is I actually brought this to a boat shop. And these are snaps that we've had installed into this. And then as you can see down here, we got our camera and all that good stuff. But we installed carpet and redid all the walls and all that kind of stuff. So I'm super excited about how it all turned out. And you can see the bobbleheads here chilling. What's up, fellas? How's it going? It's Jamie and Adam. So yeah, that's the green screen studio, and this is our new living room space that we got with our fireplace and TV and all that good stuff. So yeah, so there's a little behind the scenes of the studio, and hopefully you guys liked it, and I'll see you later.